Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Narottam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Diriyat Nashtapraye Shivabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita by Satsvarup Das Goswami, Volume 1, A Lifetime in Preparation, India, 1896 to 1965. Chapter 7 we are studying today, Jhansi, the League of Devotees. Wanted candidates from any nationality to qualify themselves as real Brahmins for preaching the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for all practical purposes throughout the whole world. Deserving candidates will be provided with free boarding and lodging. Apply A.C. Bhaktivedanta, founder and secretary of the League of Devotees, Bharti Bhavan, P.O. Jhansi, UP. So this is what Prabhupada advertised. It was another 12-hour ride with dozens of shops. The trains rattling and clattering and its rocking from side to side made writing difficult, but Abhay, crowded on the wooden bench with other third-class passengers, kept writing. Within the dingy compartment, passengers eyed one another complacently, and soot and dust blew in the open sky, open windows, as a train sped along. Outside passed a monotonous embankment of loose stones. Bright violet trumpet flowers bloomed on tall stalks in the shallow trackside ditches. Water buffalo and oxen grazed in the distance or sometimes pulled a plow before a solitary farmer. Abhay was going to Jhansi not for business but for preaching. 1 month before, in October of 1952, when Abhay had visited Jhansi on business, Mr. Dubey, a customer and the owner of a Jhansi hospital, had invited him to lecture at the Gita Mandir. Many Jhansi people appreciated things religious or humanitarian, whether from Vaishnavas, Theosophists, Mayavadis, politicians, or whatever. They regarded almost any path as dharma, as long as it showed some edifying piety or tended towards the public welfare. Mr. Dubey had read with interest several issues of Back to Godhead and had therefore requested Abhay to speak. Abhay had been eager, and he had found keen interest amongst the audience of more than 100 people, many of them young medical students and graduates from the local Ayurvedic college. Abhay was 56, and his commanding presentation of Krishna consciousness had impressed the young religious-minded people of Jhansi. 25-year-old Prabhakar Mishra, principal of the Vedanta Sanskrit College and head medical officer of the Jhansi Ayurvedic University, saw that Abhay was very forceful in his desire to spread Krishna consciousness. Dr. Mishra regarded him as a kind of guru, although dressed in white. Here is a humble person, he thought, a real sadhu. Short and stocky Dr. Shastri, just beginning his career in Ayurvedic medicine, was an active young man, fascinated by Abhay's purity and his vision of a world movement for distributing India's culture. Older men like Thal Swav, Ramcharan, Haiharan Mitra, a utensils shopkeeper who wrote poetry and wore a white, narrow cap, also wanted to learn more about Lord Chaitanya from Abhay. Dr. Malik, who was the Gita Mandir secretary, and Dr. Siddhi from the university, along with their wives, had sincerely approached Abhay after his talk and asked him please to visit Jhansi again. Abhay had come to them not as a pharmaceutical salesman or as a man with family concerns, but purely as a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although the specific applications of Krishna consciousness as given by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati were new to his audience, these teachings had interested them. And the more Abhay had expressed these teachings and spoken of his ambitions for spreading Krishna's message, the more his hearers had encouraged him. Several of them had suggested he conduct his mission in Jhansi, and they had promised to help him. Dr. Shastri had even invited Abhay to come live with him. He would introduce Abhay to important citizens and arrange for lectures in the various meeting places of Jhansi. So it looked like something is working out in Jhansi, and Prabhupada called his society as a league of devotees. He found some enthusiasm amongst people of Jhansi to listen to him, to help him in his mission. But let's see what happens. After staying for 10 days, Abhay had returned to Allahabad, but remembering Jhansi, he had been unable to concentrate on his business. Something more important was on his mind: the need for an association of devotees propagating the teachings and practices of Krishna consciousness worldwide. With the Gaudiya Mutt now broken into permanent schisms, his god brothers conducting their own private ashrams in separate locales, apparently impervious to any reconciliations, something would have to be done if the overwhelming atmosphere of godlessness were to be corrected. They must emerge, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had envisioned, a league of preachers with activities worldwide. The nations of the world had sought unity through the League of Nations and recently through the United Nations. The League had failed, and so would the United Nations, unless it recognized the true spiritual unity and equality of all living beings in terms of their intimate relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abhay did not expect any good to come of such organizations. Though they wanted peace and unity, their attempts were simply another feature of godlessness. No, creating peace and unity was the duty of Vaishnavas. So Abhay had been thinking that perhaps a likely place to start an organization of devotees would be Jhansi. It wasn't a major city, but at least he had found concerned people. The students had listened and accepted and had said they would help. Abhay had sensed a certain lack of sincerity and depth in their appreciation and a sentimentality that made him doubt their seriousness. But if he could find a few or even one who was serious, then he would have a beginning. He wanted to preach, that was his mission. Besides, he was already getting older. If something were to begin, it should be now. So he would go to Jhansi again to stay for an indefinite duration. Without much concern for his Allahabad affairs, Abhay left his pharmaceutical business with his son and nephew, informing them that he was going to Jhansi. As the train pulled into the station, Abhay saw Dr. Shastri waving energetically. They rode together by Thanga to Dr. Shastri's dispensary, and the talkative, effusive doctor promised many preaching opportunities and interviews. Dr. Shastri also spoke of the lore of Jhansi. The site of the present city had formerly been a part of the forest in which Lord Ramchandra had practiced austerities many thousands of years ago. The Pandavas had lived there during their exile, and since then, many great Vedic sages had had their hermitages in the area. Jhansi had also been the home of an Indian heroine, Lakshmibai, who in the mid-19th century had taken part in starting the Indian independence movement against the British regime. Statues and pictures of Lakshmibai riding a horse and holding a sword in her upraised hand were displayed throughout the town. But the Jhansi of 1952 was a crowded, poor city with dirty streets and minimal technological amenities. Dr. Shastri lived alone in a two-story rented building in Jhansi's Siprivada. On the first floor, he had his clinic, and upstairs his one-room residence, which he had offered to share with Abhay. The young but influential doctor was a good person to introduce Abhay to receptive citizens of Jhansi, and he was eager to do so. Outgoing and energetic, he moved easily amongst the people of his town. He was respectful towards Abhay, who was twice his age and whom he appreciated as being firmly fixed in the Vaishnava philosophy and way of life. Dr. Shasi saw it as his duty to help Abhay, and he gladly introduced Abhay to others and arranged for lectures. Abhay and Dr. Shasi would cook and eat together like family members. Abhay revealed his idea for a League of Devotees, an organization with worldwide scope, but based in Jhansi. The citizens of Jhansi, he said, should all take part in helping spread Lord Krishna's mission. Lord Chaitanya had said that Indians have a special responsibility to distribute God consciousness, both in India and around the world. So Prabhupada thought now something is working out in Jhansi. Dr. Shastri, in his heart, always it was burning that the whole world was suffering in the materialistic view. Everyone is busy in eat, drink, and be merry. So the whole day he was touring and preaching his mission that was prescribed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Guru Maharaj. He was having iron will determination and self-confidence about his mission. He was not doubtful at all. He was Dhrilavrata, staunchly determined. Actually, he was always preaching, Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam, Keval, Kalo, Nastiv, 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 Dataram. No other way except Hare Krishna now. So always discussing, sometimes the whole night he was discussing with me, and sometimes I was fed up. I was requesting, please don't disturb me, please let me sleep. And he, the old man, missionary worker, he was just like a young man. I was a young chap, and he was just like my friend, my elder brother. He was like my guide and teacher, because a preacher is a friend, philosopher, and guide. He was always trying to create a good atmosphere through Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. The whole Bhagavad Gita was his practical life. His mission was not a mission of preaching only, but of practical action. He was always trying to catch me for this mission and never tried to slip away. I did not think that he would do any miracle for spiritual revolution of the world, although that is what he urged us. While Dr. Shasi tended his clinic, Abhay sat and spoke with patients, occasionally recommending medicines, but was mostly preaching. For now, he was content to live and preach in Jhansi. He was lively, receptive to his preaching, who responded to his urging them to chant Hare Krishna. His desire and determination to leave everything else behind and preach day and night, depending on Krishna for the result, was increasing. He began regularly lecturing and chanting at various programs in the city, sometimes at several in one day. Once on Sundays, he would lecture at the Sadhana Mandir, another day at the Gita Mandir, another day at the Theosophical Society, and regularly in people's homes. Mr. Ram Mitra, the shopkeeper, poet, maintained a Shiva temple near his home, and Abhay began to perform kirtan and lecture there. Sometimes Mr. Mitra would speak in Hindi on Bhagavad Gita at the Sadhana Mandir, and Abhay would attend. Sometimes Abhay would visit Mr. Mitra at his utensils shop. The shop was in a crowded Jhansi Bazaar and opened onto the busy street. Abhay would sit down like an ordinary customer amidst the stacks of stainless steel buckets, plates, bowls, and lotas, and speak to Mr. Mitra and friends about Chaitanya Charitamrita. Or sometimes he would listen to Mr. Mitra tell about his published book of poetry and his literary reputation. Mr. Mitra saw that Abhay's ambition was no less than to make the whole city of Jhansi alive with Krishna consciousness. Abhay quoted Chaitanya Charitamrita. One who has received the great fortune of taking birth in India should make his life perfect and then do good for others by spreading Krishna consciousness. And Abhay would add, the whole world is waiting, Mr. Mitra, for our spiritual revolution. Mr. Mitra would nod, his handsome Nehru-like face forming a smile. But he saw that Abhay wanted people to do more than merely listen to him. He wanted them to do something, not just listen. Once Mr. Mitra offered Abhay a copy of his book, showing him the foreword by famous man, and repeatedly mentioned that the great sadhu Vinoba Bhave had liked the poems very much. When Mr. Mitra learned that Abhay was a regular milk drinker, he began offering Abhay fresh milk daily from his cow, a black cow, and black cows, Mr. Mitra said, gave especially good milk. Abhay invited Mr. Mitra to accompany him on foot to nearby villages along with the Kirtan party for preaching. But Mr. Mitra declined, being unable to get anyone to tend the shop for him. So Prabhupada was pushing. And another thing, if you see, of course, Prabhupada is Mahabhagavat, so Krishna will definitely take care. See how Krishna is taking care of Prabhupada. In Jhansi, new city, just few people he knew about. So somebody offered him a place to stay, and Mr. Mitra offering him milk every day from his own cow. So Krishna takes care of his devotees. It definitely does. May not be very luxurious life, but whatever the devotee really needs, it is provided by Krishna. Although we may think that, oh, they are not having jobs or businesses and still, well, they are doing the best business for Krishna. And Krishna, he is the Supreme Lord. What is lacking in him? Nothing. So can't he take care of his devotees? Can't he provide for his devotees? Of course he can, and he does. Nicely. So that confidence has to be there. That's all. Another young Ayurvedic doctor was Dr. Siddhi, who immediately expressed interest in Abhay's enthusiastic plans for spreading Krishna consciousness. Dr. Siddhi, he came several times to my place. I have got a kirtan room on my roof, and he performed kirtan there as well as at the Gita Mandir. We were also going daily to the Theosophical Society. There was an atmosphere, a very pious, sacred, and calm atmosphere. When the kirtan and preaching and lectures were performed, he used to play harmonium. We accompanied him for meeting people and preaching his mission. The main thing was to perform kirtan and give a lecture on the Bhagavad Gita and the life of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was his Lord, and I also loved him. Radhilal Malik, secretary of the Gita Mandir and Sadhana Mandir, began meeting often with Abhay. Radhilal Malik said, I was very much influenced by him. I used to spend 3 or 4 hours every morning in his association. He had many, many big scriptures. He was mainly concerned about the books about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was also writing at that time. The president of Gita Mandir and we both volunteered to cook for him. See, Krishna is providing everything. It was during a morning walk with the Radhilal Malik that Abhay first spotted the Bharati Bhavan, a picturesque temple complex across from the large Antiya pond. The neighborhood known as Antiya Tal was quiet and sparsely populated, but it was near Sipri Road, the main thoroughfare between downtown Jhansi and Sipri Bazaar. Abhay inquired from Mr. Malik about the temple, and together they turned from the main road and walked down a sloping footpath that led through the main gates of the compound. There they found several secluded acres nestled within a grove of neem and mango trees. The main structure was a Radha memorial. It was small like a chapel, but its proportions were stout and bold. Sitting on an octagonal stone base, it rose on 8 ornate pillars of red and white chipped marble to a stone dome on top. 2 elephants bearing the goddess of fortune Lakshmi on their upraised trunks decorated the entrance. Concrete bunting and striped patterns of red, green, and blue added to the decorative yet massive effect. The entrance was marked with the words Radha Smarak carved in Hindi script, and above it the English translation Radha Memorial. When Abhay saw the Sanskrit inscription across the side of the stone temple, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, he turned to Radhilal Malik and said strongly, "The Lord has built this building for my use." From that moment, Abhay was determined to have the building. No money in his pocket, just the desire, and hoping Krishna would fulfill the desire. Mr. Malik explained that the temple had been built in 1939 as a memorial to wealthy Vaishnav landowner Radhabhai, but at the present was not in use. Dr. Prabhakar Mishra, whom Abhay had already met on several occasions, was occupying some of the rooms, but otherwise it was deserted. Mr. Malik and Abhay saw Dr. Mishra in his quarters in the main building, and when Dr. Mishra saw Abhay's enthusiasm, he invited Abhay to stay there with him. Dr. Mishra confirmed that except for his Sunday morning Gita class, the facility was sitting idle, and he welcomed Abhay to carry on his writing and preaching there. Abhay liked the idea. Immediately he began thinking of uses for the building, surveying the land with increasing interest. A second, larger building, also with stone pillars and facades, held a hall and 5 rooms. Abhay made mental plans for each room. In this room, kirtans and lectures with large gatherings. In this room, the deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In these rooms, resident brahmacharis and sannyasis, guests here, an office there, the printing press here. There was even land for grazing a cow. It was a self-contained unit. Hundreds of people could come here for kirtan, prasadam, and discourses. Preachers could go out from here distributing Back to Godhead magazine. Some could even go abroad with Lord Chaitanya's message. As Abhay and his companions walked through the compound, appreciating it as a suitable place to start an ashram, his companions encouraged him, saying they were sure that Mr. Reva Shankar Bhayal, the agent who handled all the properties of Radhabai's descendants, would have no objection to Abhay's living there. Why couldn't the landlord give him the buildings? Abhay asked. They were simply going to waste. If it were actually to be a memorial to Radha, it should be used in Krishna's service, since Krishna is Radha's worshipable Lord. Abhay was determined, and his friends agreed to help him. First, they met with Ram Mitra, who said he was such a close friend of Mr. Bhayal's that Mr. Bhayal will probably give the place simply at his request. Dr. Shastri said that he also wanted to go to impress upon Mr. Bhayal how much the people of Jhansi wanted Abhay to have his place. When Reva Shankar Bhayal met with his friend Ram Mitra, also present were Abhay, Dr. Shastri, Radhilal Malik, Prabhakar Mishra, and Suryamukhi Sharma, young, educated Jhansi women. They presented the case from several angles, and Mr. Bhayal listened. He agreed that he wasn't using the place at present, and this seemed to be a good cause. He agreed to let Abhay use the facilities for his league of devotees for as long as he liked. And at Abhay's request, he agreed to become a member of the league. They shook hands. On behalf of the estate, Mr. Bhayal presented the Bharti Bhavan properties in charity to Abhay Charan Day and the League of Devotees. So, sounded like a good venture. Sounds like Prabhupada got his place, but Krishna definitely has his own plans. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. What a
Hare
journey
Krishna.
Prabhupada was going through. So many ups and downs. Still, he was trying his best to preach mission. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that is true.
See how he got this place. He said that I want this. This is for my use. And finally, he got it also. Oh my God.
Well, I guess Krishna wanted something else from him. But we'll read it tomorrow.
Yeah. But yeah, means it's like ऐसा होता है कभी कभी, हम सोचते हैं मिल जाती है, फिर कुछ और ट्विस्ट होता है उसके अंदर।
Ultimately, तो what Krishna wants will happen.
आई नो, आई नो, एंड दैट इज द बेस्ट थिंग टू हैपन प्रभु जी। मुझे लगता है कि हम लोग बहुत सारे प्लान बना ले, मगर जो कृष्ण प्लान बनाते हैं वही सच में बेस्ट होता है, हमारे लिए भी और सबके लिए भी।
होता तो वही है. um, but it just we think, oh, why this didn't happen this way, and what is Krishna doing, and this and that. So
Yeah.
that's where we make a mistake. That's all.
Yes, प्रभु जी, actually questioning. Nice, very nice, प्रभु जी. Thank you so much for this class.
Thank you, Mata. Thank you. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.